Greetings, everybody. We've gathered around the table again today for another episode. And today we're going to be reviewing a new knife that has come in. It was a new knife for 2018, but first let's get to our pocket dumps. Paul.
That's me.
It sure is.
And
I hope so.
this week I got the Benchmade 940
Tis a classic.
in the goodness.
The clip on the wrong side.
That's on the right side. By that, I mean the left side.
It sure is
Yeah,
on the
It's about
proper
time.
side.
We're converting you one at a time.
No, I have a few knives that I carry specifically in my back pocket. So I
So
left hand
then
carry them so they tip up on the seam.
Converting.
No more than half.
Alright. I don't get locked up on myself. The 620 CF.
I keep on telling you to embrace the wave, and you're hanging up on other knives and charging cables, and if you just embraced the wave, it would be out, and we would have been through my rant by now.
But we're not, so that's okay.
Do you not like the anglerfish?
The anglerfish.
He dangles it out there to catch a lure.
It does.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I just don't want to accidentally cut myself or something else around.
Or the charging cable.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, I am carrying good old tried and true Stooge Bowie. Oh my god.
How do you go wrong?
It's so pretty.
Discontinued deliciousness.
So, and no, I'm not selling it.
And it's still boring and gray.
Likes it.
It's right. It should stay like that.
Yeah.
And I've got my Benchmade Crooked River with the pretty Banksia pod scales on it.
Yeah,
Very pretty.
I keep on wanting to say Chola Cactus every time he pulls it out,
Yeah.
but it's not.
It is not. Nope. Alrighty. So on to the review then. So we have with us today a knife from CRKT. Get into focus. There we go. It was brand new for 2018. It was actually labeled as the Blade Show Official Knife of the Year. I probably should have stayed zoomed in. The CRKT Caligo. So at 7.625 inches long, it is half as tall as a bowling pin. Yeah, you need two of those to be as tall as a bowling pin.
And then it would be up to here.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. That sounds
Actually,
about right. That's the best game of bowling ever.
I would
Yeah.
guess
Bunch of
about a foot.
Caligos. So,
That was.
I almost want to see like a clear resin bowling pin with two Caligos.
That'd be cool.
I just see an image of giant Caligos that are twice this size, standing
To get bold.
to get bold.
Awesome.
Is that the verb? I don't think it is. Probably not.
To be bold.
Half as heavy as a billiard ball, weighing in at 3.4 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually not a bad weight for the size of the knife.
Yeah, that's decent.
And then I'm just thinking about
Mini billiards.
They can't play the game of mini billiards now.
And using 8CR 13 MOV for the blade steel and 6061 aluminum handles.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For a nice little anodized pivot collar on both sides.
Caligo.
Caligo.
Something.
Blade Show Knife of the Year. That's just a weird one. They haven't done that, or official knife? Not Knife of the Year, just official knife of the Blade Show. Like, it was weird. That
So sponsored somehow?
They made 150 or something like that. I was seeing. They made 150 for the show, I guess.
that said Blade Show across the side of them.
Okay.
Oh,
And
that's
the
kind of interesting.
150 cent Blade Show across the side of them, and they gave them away as a super limited edition or sold them or something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
But really odd. And especially the choice, nothing against the Caligo or the Caligo that we're looking at. But out of all the knives, out of all the models, this is what you choose to be a Blade Show
Mm-hmm.
official, slap that across 2018 and call it good knife.
I think that gives you an idea of how Dennis feels about it.
Well, no, but did you see what came out at Blade
Yeah,
Show
that's fair.
2018?
I'll give you
Like,
that.
Of all the options.
regardless
yeah.
of what I feel about this knife, this is the knife that you're going to say represents us for this
For
year.
2018, yeah.
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So yeah, it was designed by TJ Scharwz.
Schwartz.
No T. Schwarz. I don't know.
Scharwz.
That's not,
Scharwz.
There's no T on the end of that, so
Yeah, not Schwartz. Scharwz.
yeah.
Fair
It's
enough.
interesting. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
The name Caligo meaning black, and apparently his name also translating to roughly meaning black. I believe it was this knife I heard on a Blade HQ video talking about how when this was in prototyping stage, they referred to it as onyx.
Fair enough.
So the black theme was always intended from the beginning. I guess that is referring to the blackout hardware, handle scales, pocket clip, blade.
Yeah.
And they executed it, I think, pretty nicely.
Yeah, as far as like an all black knife is concerned, it looks snappy.
I like a little bit of punch of color with the blue, really.
Just a hint, it was
really nice,
perfect.
yeah.
Yep, it was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like how electric they got the blue. It is a nice
Yes.
little hint, but it's nice and poppy.
Nice and vibrant, yeah.
And I don't know if they took, or Rook took a page out of CRKT, part CRKT, part Sabenza, but I wouldn't be surprised with this being the flagship model of the Blade show, that even Rook were to say, hey, that's something that stands out on our knife.
Yeah.
We want to do it too for something that was slapped on for this year, right?
It was a good choice, and honestly, I feel like if that was black, it would look a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
for
gives
sure.
it a pop.
I mean,
Well,
it is
yeah.
6061 aluminum. It does have full stainless steel liners, but I don't know, just having that little bit of color as an accent, it's a nice choice.
Mhm.
The ZT's done it, Rook's done it.
Something I'll mention that I didn't think about until we're talking about the anodizing, but with the pivot screw actually being raised up, you might think that it's a little gaudy, it's a little, instead of being nice and flush, but that would probably even act as a protector for the anodization.
Yeah, keep
Being
it on
raised up a little bit. Knowing companies like Rake, like Kershaw, like CRKT, maybe their anodizing isn't the best in the world, having that raised up pivot screw might act as a bit of a deflector
Yeah, protector from.
when it
I
comes
can see
to
that.
keeping that nice and keen and blue. So in this particular situation, I don't mind that it's not perfectly flush. Right?
And it's not aggressively raised. Like, it's only just a smidgen bit.
It's no thumb stud on a front flipper from Rake, because that thumb stud, you talk about being obnoxiously raised.
Yeah.
That comes to mind.
And it is a nice touch, especially considering that with reflective anodizations, that means that there was a high polish on the aluminum before it was anodized, or some kind of polish. That type of anodization wears off relatively quickly compared to other types. Referencing the 940 that you actually showed off earlier, that has a much deeper anodization. It's
Got a
much
nice
more
shimmer when you catch the light there.
So that's a good point. Adding a little
With
bit
the high
of,
polish, and like you were saying.
the protection, preventing scratches, and it's such a small surface area too. No, it's Speaking of the knife's overall looks, though, and this is brought up just before we started here, but the blade and the handle seem a little bit.
Mismatched?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did bring it up right before recording, as you were asking me overall what I thought about the knife and my overall opinions about the knife. But before we get into that, I don't know if we've mentioned as well, IKBS.
Yes.
Ball bearing system, but something unique about the IKBS as well. So
Right, yeah, the caged bearing system as opposed to the loose bearings.
Yeah, like if you look down in there, it does look like they're inside a bronze phosphorus washer.
Yeah,
That's what they're caged in.
Not.
Oh, what
Those washers are actually just on the exterior portion of the pivot.
Yeah.
There, if you disassemble it, there is actually a track, on the interior of the pivot, there's actually a track in either side of the handle that holds onto the ball bearings.
Cool.
And the only reason I know that is because I went to CRKT's website and I saw in a video promoting the knife, there were disassembly photos of the IKBS ball bearing system with the bearings in a track.
Very cool.
okay, the bearings are in a track, but
Oh, but the track isn't in the blade. What I'm saying is the track is just in the handles.
just in the handle, correct,
Yes.
sir. And they have bronze phosphor against the blade.
That is a new addition. I can't remember another. I can't remember another model that actually has those washers.
Now, is that a comment on the fact that the blade steel that they're using is 8CR 13 MOV and the wear on maybe the ball bearings
I don't think so.
versus the 8CR?
I think it's the thickness of the blade. I think it has more to do with there isn't really a ton of material here to remove for a track.
So keeping it thin behind the cutting edge, but still wanting a handle that's that thick, and they needed to compensate by putting.
That's my guess.
And in the best way possible by bronze phosphor, because there's a whole bunch of IKBS that's running straight on the track of the steel or the track of the handle, where it's straight steel on steel, and I'll take bronze phosphor
Yeah, I can only imagine that would make it smoother.
any day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And the only reason why I say I doubt it's the blade steel is just because there are models out there that have steel liners or steel washers on one side and 8CR steel in the center, like there's a Kershaw, wasn't the Reverb,
Refraction.
the Fraction, thank you, yeah. That has 8CR and it is caged ball bearings, but it is running right against the steel. So you're still getting the compression from both sides. Anyway, that's just my thoughts behind that.
Fair enough.
Which is really interesting, and that actually kind of brings us into, like, one of the things that I really noticed was how exposed, especially the top.
You could see the bearings, yeah.
And just overall, like, the way that you can deploy that knife, there's a lot of kind of gunk factor that can get into that knife.
Gunk factor.
That better not be the name of the episode.
New hashtag.
More so than a lot of other knives because of how exposed those tracks are, right?
They are kind of out.
They're pretty open.
Yeah, like
So time will tell as to whether that actually factors in. I mean, if you're dealing with stuff like silt on a daily basis, maybe that's more of a concern, but
I'm even thinking pocket lint.
yeah.
And it'll get chewed up.
And I mean, when you're getting a good amount of pocket lint in how exposed that is,
And you know what?
it might affect the bearings, especially when they're loose bearings and not cage bearings.
Well, and I'm thinking about the crossbones.
They are caged on this one, though.
Partially.
Yeah.
They're tracked, they're not caged. So which means, and why I was saying that and why I think that's important is because on caged ones, there'll be a separation on the ball bearings.
Yes.
On tracked ones, the ball bearings will still be individually touching depending on how it's being deployed, right? So any
And how many
gunk...
bearings you've lost?
how many bearings you've lost. Because apparently on the IKBS, yeah.
It's totally acceptable to lose some, evidently.
So
right from the
I think pocket lint would be a factor if those
Yeah.
bearings are physically touching compared to individually spaced in a cage.
Yeah.
And this is more of an issue for lockbacks, but you can see that there is a point here where you can catch lint and have it get in the way of the stop pin, potentially affecting lockup. Now, the only reason why I bring that up is because there are models like the Crossbones where the stop pin is actually on the inside of the tang of the blade, and that prevents a lot of the potential gunk.
Which is a clever idea, but I don't think you can get away with the internal stop pin on every knife.
No.
I don't think that's the answer. I just, in this situation, but it is a good point.
Yeah.
It's just also something that's going to collect it and compress it and then potentially deposit it into the bearings too.
Yeah.
That being said, I think compressed air will serve you well if you do have this knife and there are issues like that. I mean,
I don't like probably that.
Compressed air.
Yeah.
are you compressed air?
And you'll serve this knife well.
Is that why your legs stretched out in a weird way? You're trying to relieve some of that compressed air.
I was gonna say, if we bend your knee back, do we get like a
I don't want to find out.
Bend the knee a little bit. It's like a toggle switch. It's fine. Like it's
Oh boy. Last moment on construction. That pocket clip, I appreciate the deep carry, but it gets really thin towards where that screw meets the outer edge, where it begins to bend.
Especially where they've opened up the hole. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more flexible than other clips I've just noticed when I'm moving this back and forth, but
Now, on the positive side, CRKT is not Spyderco, and they'll ship free pocket clips for free,
Yes.
to my understanding. So if you do have an issue with it, Spyderco, send free clips. CRKT will ship them out for free.
Can we quickly mention the fact that it's a deep carry clip? Deep carry clip on a knife that's not deep carry.
Yeah.
Imagine on the other side there.
Yeah, they made it a deep carry clip, but if they had put it up just that 1/4 inch, then it would be a deep carry knife.
personally I don't mind having just a little bit of the knife stick out, but I know some guys are pretty stringent on that.
I personally don't mind either, but I just find it silly that they're like, oh yeah, it has a deep carry clip, that's one of its features.
Yeah, the whole
And then
idea.
they barely deliver it.
The
Yeah.
whole idea behind a deep carry clip is that it hides the knife away completely, right?
More or less. Yeah.
I almost feel like that lanyard hole is an afterthought.
Could have been
on the
enough.
design as well. When I see it there, I'm like, you could have rounded out, you could have kept it shorter, you could have put the clip higher and made it solid.
Yeah.
I really feel like the lanyard is a CRKT touch, not a TJ Scharwz touch on this particular design.
Like, hey, most of our knives have one. We need to have one on this as well.
Accessibility, open to the public. If they like it, let's put it on it type of thing, so it's on there all the time. But I have a hard time with it being decarry, and it feels unnecessary.
With the way that clip is shaped, too, you could hang a lanyard off of the clip without actually needing a
Open design, for sure.
And for me, part of this is too long of a handle to require a lanyard. I mean, maybe for you it's different, but I mean, even like my most forward of grips, I'm palming this knife. I don't need a lanyard.
And I just wanted to, before we get on to grips and stuff like that, I just wanted to point out that as we're speaking about the clip, right hand only.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we need to get into that before we get into the grip, because I have issues with the grip that we'll get into.
Get with the other 90%.
But CRKT, stop taking notes from Rake, and whether it's the blue collar or whether it's the right hand only, these are poor choices.
You can do that one.
Oh, yeah, this is fantastic. But 2 holes, if you're going to make it ugly enough to put a lanyard hole in, you can make it ugly enough for 2 screws for a left-handed clip.
Before we jump off of that, the Heyo actually came with a little plate that you could put into the opposite side.
I love that.
And if this was meant to be a pretty knife, and it's made out of 6061 aluminum anyway, just give us a little steel plate to pop in.
Yep.
It would look like a nice little panel.
Still keep it nice and flush.
Another company that just started doing that, and unfortunately we haven't got to play with any yet, is Artisan Cutlery.
Yes.
Artisan is doing these cool little plates sometimes, and sometimes you can just suck it up. But sometimes they put a cool little plate in. So overall impressions on this knife: good, bad, the ugly, the something. I don't know. We've got a grading system. For me, I'm going to call this knife a C+ on this guy. Price point is good for the materials. Aluminum HCR is fantastic with the black coating. Grip is nicer than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That is something that we didn't dabble on, was the grip on everything. And for me, the grip is okay, but it definitely puts me into what Nigel calls that pistol-y grip. You're not getting as much of that kind of baseball kind of torquing on it type of feel to it.
Kind of pointing with the knife.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel
saber
about grip.
fighting or something.
The grip itself, I don't know if you guys want to dabble on that before we get into it, because
I don't mind it. It's a little bit in that awkward phase. I can kind of squeeze 4 fingers on, and it almost gets my ring finger onto that hump of the second choil, but it's not awkward, but it's definitely
Not ideal.
Not full length for you.
Yeah, in an odd range for sure.
and that's the one time where I'll actually agree with Nigel. I don't think there's quite enough handle for working with there.
It, obviously, I mean,
Yeah.
usually when it comes down to this, it'll end up fitting me, and it fits me just fine. I found that it kind of is slightly reminiscent because of the double choil of that new ZT that came out this year. It's got a kind of similar profile to
The
it.
Emerson, the 604 or whatever it is,
Which one? The one that has the hole through
or the
the
640. Oh, the
Crap, I'm drawing a blank.
That one.
This one right here.
Yeah.
We all know the knife.
Yeah, just because of the double choil, it kind of gives that kind
I'm
of
saying
look.
like the 606.
Give your knife names.
Yeah, please.
Anyway, but yeah, I do agree. It's similar. For me, I really appreciate having the jimping on the lock bar here, as well as on the back of the blade, even though it's very minimal, just because I feel like without it, this would feel too slick.
It's pretty slippery there.
For me, this is kind of a pointy knife, but having that belly up here and not having the tip, not having it like that,
Yeah, that helps out.
it really helps. Comfortable enough. So for me, the grip is halfway decent. I still feel like I'm kind of slipping off the end. With this type of a handle, I feel like I don't have that problem with that little bit of a bird's beak sort of lip. So I kind of wish that was incorporated here, but I mean, it's not uncomfortable to hold. The flipper action is quite nice. It's not tilted in the wrong direction. It actually catches my finger as I go to open it. So I haven't really fumbled this once yet. It seems pretty reliable. I like having the jimping on the back of the blade as well as the part of the lock bar here.
Helps with the slippy aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be really slippery.
I know a lot of people like open construction, and I also like open construction, but I don't know. I like that spacer being there.
And speaking of the backspacer,
Yeah, speaking about that, if I could change one thing about this knife, the only thing that I would really be looking at it is maybe potentially putting that backspacer in there, that same blue, just as like a secondary accent color.
I think it would have been a lot nicer. Now, with the Caligo name being all black, I can understand
Of
the
course.
theme,
Yeah.
but I agree with that splash. I think that would have helped.
Make it seem a bit more high end, you know, like.
Yeah, would have been a nice touch.
Yeah.
I do remember what we were talking about that we didn't dabble on for the handle after we were all said and done. Nigel and I were discussing about how surprised we were about how filled out it was. When we saw it, we saw two-dimensional pictures. If we can zoom in on it again here. We saw two-dimensional pictures, and what they didn't show you is that
I think it's
Don't look too much.
everyone gets one. The line, or the actual frame itself, is actually pretty substantial for the grip. So I am impressed with the grip. I thought that the tail of the guppy, as it were, because I haven't talked about the fact that this thing has a guppy tail. And yeah, the fact that the way that it's flared out like that doesn't pinch your hand in a full grip, right? So that was one of my main concerns, and it's a pro that it is actually thicker. I know you were talking about that as well.
Yeah. Going along with Dennis's points there, and how from the 2D pictures we were worried about how thin that was going to be. From the pictures, it was kind of my assumption that that extra piece you see inside there was actually a bit of an onlay that they put onto like the liners. And I was going to be concerned about how thin the liners might have been, but it's all one piece that was either machined or cast.
I'm gonna guess
into that.
cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Almost
clean
kind of
casting.
like the fossil kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it does give it a nice thickness. It doesn't bite into your fingers and your grip, and it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
No more so than any other knife with a metallic handle.
Yeah.
That bites in. Like,
Nigel likes the thickness.
So does Dennis. He went off about it first.
So yeah, I had to dabble on that because I had thought about it there, and it was a major concern when I saw this knife because I thought it was going to be just like pencil flat thin.
Kind of
So-
like the some of the other folders they've come out with. The rasp with the extremely thin handles.
Yeah, that one was very thin.
Yeah. No, I'm happy that it turned out the way it did. Slight contouring. This extra step makes it look a little bit fancier, and
Yeah.
Little touch of class.
And along with the rating system that we've been playing around with lately, thanks to Dennis here, I'm going to put it into the C plus-ish range as well. It's a nice, decent little knife. I like it better than I thought I was going to, but it just doesn't tick enough boxes in my personal opinions to go any higher than that, really.
Yeah, I as well with the rating system. Am probably going to give it a C+. Really like the price point in particular for aluminum and HCR with the fancy collar ring. Benchmade charge you $40 for an anodized collar ring. CRKT is like, no, it's on the house, guys. We got it. We got this time. So they don't care about lefties, but even still, C+ for the design, everything like that. The one thing we didn't dabble on as well in my rating system is the reason I don't rank it higher is for a personal reason. I honestly don't think the handle and the blade match. When I see this handle in particular, it makes me think about something fancier designed, a Brian Ty, a Ken Onion, something harpoon shaped, something spear point, something with a recurve, something like that.
More flowy.
Compound grind or something.
What I don't think about, which it came to mind, was a very like Bob Dozer type of utilitarian blade shape.
Useful, but not.
I love utility. Don't get me wrong. I love the blade shape, but on this particular knife, why I don't rate it higher is because of how I personally think it's mix matched with.
Even a clip or a trailing point would, in my opinion, look better than the kind of drop pointy sort of hunter style that they have here.
Yeah. For me at least. And if you came out with this handle shape and some variations on the blade, a harpoon, a tanto for the guys who like tanto blade shapes, I think this black theme would be good. But you tried to throw a hootenanny, like you were saying earlier, or a Matt Diskin from Kershaw's, like his Raskinner design, onto badass handle instead of a wood overlay type of or whatever type. Yeah. So
aesthetically,
brass and wood or something.
I agree with you. I think that is kind of a, I don't know if it was a miscommunication or what ended up happening, but it does strike me as odd. The longer I look at the knife, the weirder it kind of becomes, that weird disconnect. I wish for a different handle for the blade, and I wish for a different blade for the handle, you know?
I think you could do a bunch of different variants of this knife fairly easily, though. You know what I mean? Like by adding a clip and stuff like that. I don't think it would be that difficult to have a couple different variations.
It's a good launching point. Starting different variations, definitely. But that being said, I mean, it still rates a C because it's still useful. Like it's
functional, yeah.
It's a functional blade shape.
for me, what puts it high up on the list is the thickness in the handle and the price point for the materials. And you got to commend CRKT for checking those boxes for sure. What doesn't do it for me is a particular style and design, right?
Fair enough,
Yeah. So, but the other thing we haven't mentioned is TJ Scharwz and his background. One of the most awesome knives that he produces is the Millet Torrent.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
And we do have a little whirr of the Millet Torrent. And what you'll actually notice is the blade shape is actually really similar. The difference is they actually did some milling holes in the blade and made it look like completely different. And it is a little more spear pointy and it does have some variances, but it's got some similarities to TJ Scharwz as well. So I don't think this was an accident. I think this is what TJ wanted.
Yeah,
It's just weird in my eyes.
Maybe he was trying to do like workhorse utilitarian knife, but make it a little bit more classy and trying to bridge that gap, and it just didn't quite connect there.
I could see, other than the fact that it's all in black, I could easily see this in like a dude's like suit pants or something like that in the office.
I don't know. Maybe because it's all black, I think it would fit in with an office.
I've seen a lot of people get scared by black knives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It's only a 3-inch blade, so I don't
That's
know.
fair.
But I'm also biased.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable size. I don't think that's asking too much.
That's also not a very menacing blade shape.
No.
Which might help in that specific kind of carry.
And we've talked about the psychology on people that are scared of knives or scared of knives.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it may not matter what you pull out, they're just going to be scared of knives psychology. And we've talked about that in the past as well, right? So it's something you got to be conscious about.
Briefly, before we're out here, did we want to talk about a problem that you noticed with the spacer?
Yeah.
Because I honestly didn't notice when we first started playing with it. But
Makes me sad.
from closing this knife, and I'm not sure we may need to zoom, just because I think, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it if you
Watch
hold that.
yourselves, gentlemen.
There is a very faint silver line along that backspacer. That is, my friends, from the blade connecting with that presumably aluminum backspacer and leaving a mark from the edge, connecting with it. Not the greatest thing to have happen on your knife. You could dull out your edge. I mean, time will tell if more and more people have that issue. But to me, this means two things. It means it could be a combination of the back or the stop pin being in the wrong location, or it could be the backspacer machine too thick. Or it could even just be that like the edge should just barely not touch, but then the coating is just enough that it gets.
Or it could just be randomly this one was machined a little loose, and it's hard to say.
The grind may have been slightly a hair military fatter on this one.
When you close this knife, it does have a little bit of, like, you can squeeze the blade a little bit.
There's a little bit of give.
A little bit of play, yeah.
Yeah, so for the one that we've played with, we've experienced this issue. Hard to say if it's a consistent thing across this model.
It'd be really interesting to find out. Like, leave a comment below if you have this knife and it's doing that for you.
If you've noticed any sort of wear or line on your backspacer on the inside from where the blade is touching, I'm really curious if this is a one-off issue.
Let us know.
The silver lining in this is that
nice.
The silver lining here is
Love
that
it.
it is in aluminum, so you're not going to really damage your edge all that much. Like, all things considered, if that
Not as
was
bad as steel.
if that was a steel backspacer, that would be much worse for your edge. But it is something to consider when you buy this piece.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'd fall in the same category of like C plus, maybe a B minus, just because I like this knife more than I thought I would.
For the price point, if we're just
Exactly.
judging knives in the price point, I'm tempted to give it a B, to be honest. Overall, knowing what else is out there, even like the cool deals you can get on some Spydercos with much better steel and fit and finish, then yeah, overall, I think a C plus, B minus is kind of a good range for it.
And I think on the note of the one that we got to play with tonight and the uniqueness, it's a good point to mention that we got to thank the Cutting Edge Cutlery
Yes.
Of course.
Thank you.
for giving us this offering and giving it box unseen. None of us
Yeah.
knew, including anyone at Cutting Edge, what offering we were getting tonight. It was an honest offering that we just pulled out and played with tonight. So
Yep.
whether it's the fit and finish on the blade or the design, they get an honest opinion from us.
That's
From the knife that we got to play with tonight, and we didn't get the best ofs by
Mhm.
any means tonight.
No, we did not go through
So-
and pick any prime examples of anything. We just grabbed one at random.
Awesome centering, CRKT. Again,
Yeah.
props again on your cage system, your bearing system, even your take-apart bearing systems with the like field strip. Bang on
Yeah.
centering, guys. You guys are doing it well. If you take it apart and put it back together, I cannot guarantee the same thing will happen.
Depends
unless
on,
it is the field strip, because those always go back.
Those
the same
ones are
way.
Yeah.
pretty consistent. But anyway, regardless of, props on centering. So,
Mhm.
It's a budget knife, and it's a budget knife done very well.
Yeah, the action is really nice.
Yep, so I think overall all of us are really pleased with this new offering from CRKT. For the price point and the steels and materials, like we've already touched on, it's a great buy, really good bang for the buck. It's definitely suggested. Just depends on your level of knife geekery and your personal taste if it will appeal fully to you or not.
small to medium, maybe baby medium to large heads, but just because I made eye contact when I said it, Jesus.
I wear large gloves.
But I think the extra large is going to have a top 10
For sure.
hanging
Yeah.
off the back of this. But yeah,
Visit your local retailer and come in and play with stuff.
Yeah.
See how it feels. I think, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's all we have to say.
For sure.
Like, comment, subscribe, help us grow the channel, give suggestions if you have any ideas of what you want to see or what you want us to review or anything like that. I guess that'll be all for now. Nigel the Smith, signing off.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
And I'm XL.ca.
We will catch you again next time.